Welcome to the grace period, where we get real about attorney mental health and well-being and pull back the veil on the high-stakes world of big law. I'm your host, Emily Logan Stedman. In this demanding profession, it is crucial that we don't lose ourselves in the hustle for billable hours. On the grace period, we have honest conversations about finding consistency, minimizing chaos, developing coping strategies, and destigmatizing mental health. It is time to prioritize our shared humanity, to find our grace period. So far on this season of the grace period, we've defined big law, defined the billable hour, discussed how to track the billable hour, reviewed opening and closing rituals, described a master case chart, and chatted about time blocking and controlling your calendar. Today, we'll talk about the ever-present advice: take ownership of your files. Most big law associates have heard the phrase, take ownership of the case. More times than you can count, I have heard this. But no one ever actually told me what it means. So I'm going to try to define it for you today. As a new attorney, particularly in big law, but really anywhere you practice, there's an expectation that you'll go beyond just checking boxes and completing discrete assignments. Partners and senior associates want to see you engage deeply with the entire matter you're staffed on. This means finding and reviewing the key documents, developing a comprehensive understanding of the issues, evidence, timelines, legal theories, case law, strategic objectives, keeping track of deadlines and action items, and more. This level of immersion, of personal investment, is what partners mean when they instruct you to take ownership. It signals a proactive approach, a commitment to the file. So today, let's dig into what precisely that entails and why it's critical, especially for young attorneys aiming to make their mark. First, understanding the full picture. At its core, taking ownership is about having situational awareness and context that extends beyond just the narrow tasks or drafts you're responsible for. It means proactively learning the backgrounds of all the parties involved, studying key documents and evidence, internalizing important dates and deadlines, and fully grasping the legal theories and strategic calculus driving the overall direction of the case. Rather than just reactively completing assignments, you should take the initiative to understand what upcoming work streams need to happen and try to get out ahead of them. You should seek out context from senior attorneys to connect the dots across all the moving parts. The goal is truly to gain a 360-degree view and develop fluency within the matter, as if it were your own case. This requires asking questions. You cannot ask enough questions in the beginning. In fact, common feedback to new attorneys from supervising attorneys is often that you should ask more questions up front and along the way. This prevents turning in an assignment with questions outstanding and having to make updates and revisions as a result, when likely the deadline is looming and there's a much tighter turnaround. To take ownership, you have to learn, you have to find, you have to figure things out. You cannot do that on your own. And you don't know what you don't know. Do not hesitate to ask questions every step of the way. If the assigning attorney isn't receptive to questions, and those folks are out there, ask the senior associate. Ask an associate or paralegal on the file or who has worked for the partner in the past. Someone out there will help you, I promise. Second, the value to senior associates, partners, clients, and the firm. So, why do law firms put such a premium on the comprehensive level of engagement from junior associates? A few reasons. It allows you to provide more value beyond just being an extra set of hands, eyes, and ears. When you understand the goals and the overarching strategy, you can apply judgment and analysis to every piece of work you touch in a way that moves the ball forward. It's the difference between simply taking the task versus displaying the type of strategic depth, organizational intelligence that firms need and will be required of you as you rise through the ranks. Additionally, taking ownership signals clear commitment to client service, something all firms say they have and expect. It also signals investment in the work. It shows that you don't view things transactionally, but are dedicated to delivering the maximum impact and value. This aligns with the intensity and always-on mentality big law firms need to maintain and grow client relationships. It exemplifies the type of perspective partners look for when they hire associates, when they promote associates, and when they invite you to join partnership. Finally, taking ownership accelerates your development as a lawyer. You gain familiarity with the substance, with the law, client dynamics, opposing counsel's mentalities, and more. It truly helps you build muscle memory for running cases on your own down the road. Like I said, this can create an intense and always-on mentality. The other episodes this season from 1 through 6, as well as the ones that will follow today's episode, will talk about how to find consistency and space and create time in your day while also taking ownership. Both can be true. On that note, how do you make taking ownership sustainable? Taking ownership does not have to be irrational or an unhealthy endeavor where you spread yourself across too many fronts. It's about prioritization and time management. You do not sacrifice total immersion on your highest priority matters for shallow engagement elsewhere. That is a common pitfall. You must learn to communicate candidly with supervising attorneys about your bandwidth. If you're being staffed at capacity, make it clear so that responsibilities can be properly allocated. The goal is to show investment through quality over unsustainable quantity. If you take on too much, your work will suffer. Let's pause here and actually talk about saying no. Saying no is an important time management tool and well-being strategy for attorneys, even though we are often trained to take on every request, to never say no. By saying no to non-essential tasks or unrealistic deadlines, attorneys protect their time and energy for the high-priority matters and avoid burnout. Saying no allows you to maintain control over your schedule and set healthy boundaries. However, it should be done tactfully and professionally. And it isn't easy to say no. Some people listening to this might think, I know Emily. She never says no. That is true. That is something I am constantly working on. So when I give you this advice, I'm truly and honestly giving it to myself. When you say no, you can do so with appreciation for the opportunity. You can provide a brief explanation for why you're saying no if that's appropriate. You can offer an alternative solution if possible. You can ask for the real deadline. Can it be pushed? Is there someone else who might be better suited for the task? I call this the yes, but. I'd love to work with you on this, but I have X, Y, and Z on my plate. How would you prioritize these things? Or can we adjust your deadline? By saying no judiciously and politely, attorneys demonstrate self-respect and effective time management skills and don't burn bridges. So, when you hear the words take ownership, internalize what it genuinely means for your personal growth and the trajectory of your career. It signals a mindset shift. You go from checking boxes to more deeply understanding the narrative and bringing maximum value to your cases. It requires dedication and diligent time management, but it also allows you to apply strategic insights, develop holistic skills, and showcase the type of perspective that separates good attorneys from future partners and firm leaders. Thank you for joining me on this episode of The Grace Period. I hope this discussion has provided insights on what it actually means to take ownership. Next week, we'll talk about nudging partners. Remember, you don't have to sacrifice your well-being for career success. By prioritizing self-care, setting boundaries, and seeking support, you can survive and even thrive in the law and in big law. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. That is the path to our grace period. Disclaimer: this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute professional advice of any kind, including legal advice. No attorney-client relationship is created by listening to this podcast.